Hello and welcome to Kigali, Rwanda and the 2018 African Regional Conference. I'm joined now by Bitange Ndemo, who is the Associate Professor of Entrepreneurship at the University of Nairobi's Business School. Professor, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Now, this morning you took part in the opening plenary session on transforming the future and the role that technology, innovation and disruption will play in Africa's longer-term economic developments. You were described on stage as a big data evangelist, Professor. So what do you see, what role will big data play in the transformation of Africa's financial services?
Thank you for asking that question, because big data means everything in our future, because the fourth industrial revolution is going to be based on these emerging technologies. Whether you talk about artificial intelligence or blockchain, all of them rely on big data. Big data will define virtually everything from agriculture to the financial sector. And we're beginning to see that the more big data we collect and understand people, the more solutions we develop, especially those that focus on inclusivity.
So on stage, you mentioned that in order for big data to really develop and flourish, governments have a role to play in terms of investing in infrastructure to support sort of the growth of big data, and that's in terms of sort of broadband capacity, in terms of data centers and so on. How much sort of interest or progress are you seeing by African governments in this story?
I say this conference is great because we begin the discourse around what should be the role of government, and it's a huge role with respect to infrastructure development. We tried to do as much. We haven't done much with the last mile. We need to begin to develop massive capacity, because when you talk about artificial intelligence, it's going to destroy the existing jobs and create the new jobs, which means that we must begin to develop capacity around data science and how we can scale from simply analyzing data the way we used to talk about it, history about data, to actually using the data cognitively. And that's the level we want to get to, which is artificial intelligence. We need to develop capacity around that.
And progress so far, are you seeing encouraging signs, or are you a bit disappointed with the state of play?
I am disappointed because we go to conferences and say these big words and stuff, and then a few years down the road, there isn't anything. This conference is massive because it needs to define what the future would be as per the theme, but the future is here with us. Nobody's looking at it as there is a future now. You are going to see new business models that don't exist today. And as this comes, we would see much more resistance from well-established enterprises that may be disrupted. This is the age of platforms. I don't see any bank existing in the next few years without developing a platform to which we can play without the old ways of dealing with the banking sector.
So as you said, there will be a huge shift in the landscape across the continent in the coming years.
Exactly. And you see, we forget that most of the youth have much greater education that most of the Africa had. They are more connected. They understand what is happening. And these are the people, the future customers. If you think you're going to put up a branch on Road X and the people come there, these people won't come. They are used to mobile money. They are hoping that the banking sector also would play the same way technology companies have done, such that they're just a platform somewhere there and they're able to do their transactions. And the cost of transaction has to come down because virtually everything is going to be digital. And to get to that level, we must embrace blockchain, we must embrace all these new technologies that are coming.
Okay, and finally, and very briefly, Professor, you did mention sort of the role that younger people will play in this change, in this sort of revolution, in a sense. Do they have the skills? Are governments investing in capacity and skills of younger generations of Africans to be equipped to handle this change and to participate and push this forward?
I am disappointed, to be very honest, because not just the government, universities are way behind. They have not moved beyond the current or the old ways of teaching, just theory, and we have people going out there. We must change, begin to provide courses that would lead to the young people exploiting the opportunities that emerge in a digitally transformed economy. We can't talk about digital transformation and then we are not preparing these people for that state. Luckily, most of them are working through the platforms online, and they're able to do things that really confound even myself. Because you see, like in Nairobi, we have young women, artificial intelligence or machine learning groups and stuff, and they're doing wonderful. So they're driving themselves, but governments need to invest in it. We must have a legislation around data and data protection, just like the EU, the GDPRS, because what is going to happen that this data is going to define. Everybody talks about data as the future gold or future oil, but we haven't looked at it in that sense. That's why I'm saying that governments must play a big role with respect to infrastructure, with respect to data protection, with respect to capacity building in these emerging technologies.
Well, Professor, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.